Let me say this about Gregg Popovich. The job he's done, it's what you complain about, Stephen A., with the process in Philly, teams tanking for years to get players. What it seems to me you don't like about that, racial component aside, because you always bring up the fact that there's some white privilege involved in GMs who are allowed or given the leeway to do that. But beside that, there's something not competitive about it. There's something about it that's saying I'm going to game the system and just instead of just trying my best every single night. Gregg Popovich has a team where he never gives up on a season. They simply compete. No tricks. Just go out, draft the right way, coach the right way, work hard, work smart, play the right way, and give it your best. The irony, of course, is the reason they were able to do this all these years is because David Robinson got hurt. So it was like a de facto tank, and they wound up with Tim Duncan. And I think without Tim Duncan's presence, Gregg Popovich's kind of surrogate on the court, I don't know if he could have established this same level of culture where they can fold all these players into it. But when you look at what they do, it's not just drafting. It's developing. Look at Chip England, right? You know how they shoot the three so well? They got us a shot guru, and it works. You know, DeJounte Murray goes down, but Derek White and Bryn Forbes, right? These guys are shooting it well and playing well because it's not only that they were passed on by others and selected by the Spurs, they're then developed by the Spurs, and then they're folded into a system that is right by the Spurs. They are a threat to anyone, but not at full strength.
A couple of points I'd like to make before getting to my point. Number one, you're absolutely right about I bring up the privilege because the reality of the situation is that I don't know of any black man that's been given a license to lose on purpose for years and still know that he's going to keep his job, which is what was happening with Sam Hinkie in Philadelphia. That's not Sam Hinkie's fault, but I think that's an absolute atrocity. And I'm about a meritocracy, and I'm about trying to get as close to fairness as possible. And I don't think that was fair. That was my position. It will always be my position. I'm in starch opposition to people in Philadelphia. I don't give a damn. They know how I feel about it. A matter of fact, I've been my man Mike Missinelli and others on radio in Philadelphia saying if you don't want to get cussed out, do not ask me about the process because I'm not playing. I truly mean that, and I will never deviate from it. I think it's an absolute embarrassment that any black person feels differently than I do on that process because I don't know of any black executive that had that luxury. That's enough on that point. The other point that I want to make is this. While we give San Antonio credit, and God knows they deserve it, let's not forget that there was once upon a time where they weren't trying to be competitive. That's when they were trying to get Tim Duncan. They landed Tim Duncan, and the rest is history, okay?
Well, so Robinson got hurt.
I understand that, but the point that I'm trying to make is that, you know what, Boston was right there. Rick Pitino, Larry Bird's not walking through that door. Kevin McHale's not walking through that door. Okay, they wanted Tim Duncan. San Antonio got him. That's the reality, okay? So there was once upon a time where they weren't trying to be competitive.
That's what I'm saying. The irony is of the dynasty.
Well, when Tim Duncan arrives, everything changes. Gregg Popovich is the best coach in basketball. He's absolutely sensational. The organization is first class all the way. There is no denying that. And what they've been doing defensively has been so incredibly impressive. They were a roller coaster ride. They were absolutely awful the first third of the season. They came on strong. Then they folded with their rodeo trip, you know, or like losing 7 or 8 games. And now they've won like 9 or 10 straight. It's been absolutely phenomenal defensively. But there is a particular reason why I don't consider them a threat. And I don't mean it as literal as it sounds. Of course, you're right, Max. They have the ability to stretch a series and all of that stuff. But I'm telling you, at the end of the day, I lean back and go like this. They ain't going but so far. And it's one reason and one reason only. LaMarcus Aldridge. That's how I feel. LaMarcus Aldridge is a big-time talent. LaMarcus Aldridge can ball. He was sensational when he was in Portland. There was a lot of expectations that came associated with him once he got to San Antonio. I think the way the league has changed and the rules of the game and how it facilitates more towards perimeter players, I think that is not his fault because it's not like he's a scrub and he can't play. But the fact of the matter is, come playoff time, sometimes, not every game, because there have been games like against Houston and a couple other games, he shows up and he's big time. There have been other games where there's been an APB out for him. You're trying to find him. I'm talking about impactful stuff. I'm not talking about accumulating your numbers after you're down 30 or 25. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about stop the bleeding. Keep us here. Keep us in the running for this particular game. There have been too many occasions in the postseason where LaMarcus Aldridge wasn't
But this
there.
is what's
and
crazy.
I need to see change before I'm willing to say that about San Antonio.
I don't believe that they can win primarily because the reason LaMarcus Aldridge and DeMar DeRozan, in my view, are not good enough to be the best players on championship teams is they don't shoot the three well enough. In this day and age, you have to be able to do it. They're both bad from behind the arc. I mean, but that's Popovich. This is what I'm saying. Even the Rudy Gay acquisition, it's like, but guys, the smart ones like Masai Ujiri, get rid of Rudy Gay. Right? And then the team gets better because he has the trappings of a great player, but if you can't shoot from behind the arc, it's a problem if you're going to take a lot of shots. Your two best players that you went out and acquired and paid for, both in treasure and in resources in terms of players, right? Your two best players in this day and age, neither one can shoot from the outside. And you're doing this? Popovich is such a great coach that he can zig while the rest of the league zags and still have them in contention when his two best players can't shoot, at least from behind the arc. That's amazing. It's why I think ultimately they won't win, but it's amazing what he's doing.
Yeah, it is amazing, but in the same breath, again, it's the regular season. And during the regular season, there are a lot of games. When you are professional and disciplined and you defend, those three elements can get you 40 games. It gets you 40 games. If you're disciplined, you'll say, well, coach,
the Clippers are
and
showing
you
that.
defend,
Yep.
you can get 40 games. So now we're talking about the next 5 to 10 games that you need to go after. And what I'm saying is that's where your skill set comes in. They're not scrubs. It's just that they're 2-point scorers instead of 3-point scorers. And when you're going up against the likes of Houston and Golden State,
gonna cut it.
and to a lesser degree, Oklahoma City, and possibly even Utah, it's not going to cut it when all is said and done.
Not championship contenders.